Right, George, is there any more on the actual PC stuff, or do we go to the lag now?
I think the PC issue wasn't really like the most major thing. It was mainly the servers. You know, and if we do want to segue to that,
Let's do it.
The major thing there was the fact that, and this is what I have personal quarrels with, is the fact that this was advertised as a LAN event. This was said to everyone, even press, this is going to be a LAN event. We're going to make sure we get this done. And the LAN servers weren't even there. So, like, what are you supposed to do at this point? Because I don't even think some of the players knew prior to when they were even going to play. So, you know, you had teams like 100 Thieves, for example. I think like Hiko, Nitro, they both spoke out against this. Like, you know, they were getting fucked because the servers they were playing on were just online servers. Like, it's absolutely awful. Honestly, it's the most egregious thing I've ever seen. But it's
just to contrast with CSGO again, so people know. Because remember, I didn't make this that this is the CSGO killer. That was what Riot did the whole time. I actually even said, like, it doesn't really have anything to do with CSGO yet. I had a guy from CSGO related to it and some former players. I saw it as more of an Overwatch winning. But if you want to be compared head-to-head with CSGO, then let's compare with CSGO. Because in CSGO, and I told Richard when Valorant came out, this is one area I actually could not, in fact, you as well, Monty, this is one area I couldn't see it ever succeeding and beating CSGO in, is that the game, the way the game server structure is designed is so fundamentally different that I knew Riot wouldn't go to the CSGO model. What Riot does essentially is from World of Warcraft's approach, which is that when we made our server, we crafted it like one of the Infinity Stones, and nobody must ever be allowed to see or possess it, or they would take the power of the stone. And at that point in time, all sorts of madness. What if the Chinese... Oh, no, actually, we just gave them it to begin with. What if they... You know, what if someone was to get it and to use that power in some fucked up way, right? Even though, in this game, we're not talking about World of Warcraft, where someone could, like, reverse engineer the entire thing and take all your subscriber base. We're just talking about, like, basic things like someone could run their own custom server, right? So just like League of Legends, where famously they banned anyone who attempted to do that and do their own sort of like rip-off shard or do their own client that could run it. In this game, well, if you don't know, in CSGO, there is no central structure of servers. Like, there are basic ones, but those aren't the ones the pros play on. You make a custom server for a LAN, so you actually have one with the minimum ping. You have 1 million online servers, by the way. You can go anywhere around the world and play on them. You can buy your own server and go play on that with your teammates. You're not connecting a one-main server. So I always wondered, how the fuck are they going to make that work when it comes to LANs, when it comes to fair competition? Because another thing you do in CSGO is you don't just decide between Dallas and LA. No, it's like, right, well, he's got a server, like this company's got like 10 of them. They might even have, as we saw in a recent thing with Flashpoint, they might have 5 in one country that you can test all the pings on and make sure everyone's packet loss is fine and the ping, and you check every detail and then you go and play the game. Well, because they're using more the league model of like set servers, I heard basically that like they couldn't do what you would obviously do if you were like a tech admin in CSGO, which is in this case, right, you'd basically just make a custom server on a PC in the venue, you'd have everyone connected, you just play the game. No, they had to make it where it was like, you must protect the integrity by collecting to this online server, which meant that effectively, as you're saying, George, what was a LAN suddenly turned into just an online tournament, but with people in a venue pretending to be on LAN, or even worse, not knowing they aren't on LAN.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Just before George jumps back in, I want to make it abundantly clear that the boots on the ground people had no idea on day one that this server, there was any online component to it. And players noticed because it handles differently. You can feel it. Ask any experienced FPS player about the difference between, you know, LAN and online. And trust me, when you say to these players, it's a LAN, it's a LAN, it's a LAN, they play completely differently. They have a completely different approach to what gunfights they take, what setups they use. You know, it's why the online era of CS has been so drastically different, right? And
even the number, by the way, if people don't know, even the number, it can be the same. It could say 12 ping. This definitely didn't in this case, but let's say it said 12 ping like it could on LAN. The difference is because the server is so close, the odds on getting like packet loss, anything dodgy going on is so low. Whereas if you have that same number online, you can get these issues. So as Richard says, you would play completely differently. You would take like a dry peak in a totally different way in CSGO than you would if you knew there was even that slight bit of lag. And that's the reason why everyone does view doesn't matter how good the game is coded. Any online result is never treated as legitimate compared to the LAN result.
Yeah, and I know Riot have hilariously claimed to have eliminated Pika's advantage, but they haven't.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
So far, they haven't been able to change physics. Yeah, right.
It's ridiculous.
So anyway, even as players had played their first game, they were asking, like, what's up with the fucking servers? This feels like we're playing online or something. Riot still lied. They had to have,
what are you talking about?
they had to have an internal consultation with Riot staff about whether or not to communicate the reality to the players at their tournament. And when they took the decision to do that, games were already in the books. And I'll just read you a quote from what Nitro said about it in an interview, right? He said, "I had no idea we were playing online servers until match time. For me, it was a hit in the face. I was like, wait, what? There's nothing we can do about it because it's more of a Riot thing. I don't know what to say about it. I don't know how it's a thing, an online LAN. The servers were lagging, but we were having problems throwing our utility. Sometimes we'd drone and Hiko's screen would just turn black and we would look over and he'd be glitched into a wall. He'd rubber band out. Sometimes the server would freeze for 10 seconds, but the clock kept on ticking. There was a bunch of technical problems because of the online servers. If this was on LAN, in theory, it'd be smooth sailing." So that's the type of shit that they had to deal with. And understand as well, 100 Thieves, it's a Premier team populated by, like, FPS legends.
Very decorated.
Yeah, but the key component to that is they have played in some shit. I know those guys. And Nitro's a quiet guy. He's not a drama maker. He's always took stuff on the chin. Anyone who knows him as a competitor and as a guy knows he would only speak up if it was absolutely egregious. And yeah, after that one match that they played was enough for him to start speaking up about it. And he should be commended for it, frankly, because it's what effectively, him and Hiko, or what effectively snowballed the discussion.
Yeah, so George, why has there ever been an explanation as to why they were playing online instead of online?
Yeah, that's another thing I was actually going to bring out about this statement they put out.
This is amazing.
This is honestly, I actually lost brain cells when I read this, right? Yeah. They said it was because of the strict COVID protocols for in-person events that they felt it was in the best interest of all of them to shift to a remote server. Bullshit. Sorry, no, I'm not having that.
Can you reveal the reason? Because I heard one that I'd like to know and confirm, but I want to hear from you. What was the real reason? Did you hear?
What, you mean because they didn't play on? What, because they didn't play on LAN?
This way, I'll just say, I heard that like the server they were supposed to play on is like stuck in customs coming back from Germany or something. Which again, it's not an Infinity Stone. It's a fucking version of the game that you connect to play one time again. And what's in there? The fucking KFC secret recipe and like Coca-Cola or whatever's in Dr. Pet. Shut the fuck up. It's just a server in it. So mate, again, they're treating these servers like they treat the server better than the fucking humans apparently, unless they're from Australia.
So,
I mean, I can confirm it.
Here's the thing, though, is that
I can't confirm that myself, obviously, exactly.
No, but that is also what I heard.
Using the online, it is what you heard. So here's the other thing: using the online server did, in fact, for later reasons, turn out to be kind of prescient because eventually people had to play from the hotel in Los Angeles due to the COVID testing issues that happened. So, barring the potential customs issue, if they were thinking that some people bringing all these people together would have resulted potentially in people having to be quarantined, then they would have had to have played from a different location, whether that was their team houses in FaZe's case that we'll talk about later, or some of the other teams that had to fly, because FaZe lives in Los Angeles, or some of the other teams that had to fly in. But the extra thing on this is that after teams started having to play at the hotel, my understanding is that the internet connection to those servers was better at the hotel than it was at the venue. So people who are off-site, whether it was in the FaZe houses or in the hotel, were actually getting a competitive advantage by not being in the arena.
It's another trend that keeps repeating here. People on unequal setups and in different locations. So there's another thing. So first of all, you notice another theme there was Riot's statement, as George pointed out, is nothing like what is basically, as far as we can tell, the reality. So roll the fucking tile of the creator. So that was a fucking lie. Like, we're just going to see it throughout this whole... I don't worry, I've got all the memes the kids stuff here. I know he's about fucking 10 years behind the pace, but whatever. I thought Goblins was good. Right, so basically, then there's the angle like Monty says, of all the places that the connection's got to be good, venue where it's supposed to be a LAN, you know, if I'm going to have the venue, that better have... I heard that was the worst connection of all. And that was basically what was causing a lot of these issues. Where it's not just... I mean, I don't know if we can roll the footage for this. When we say this, right, the problem is CSGO pros also have set a precedent that is terrible, which is they are so used to excellent conditions that they will argue that, like, in a server where, like, 4 of us have 60 ping and you know, 2 of them have 45, that's like, oh, we can't possibly play like this. No, we're talking about scenarios where we're going to roll a clip at some point in time where literally it was so bad, the terrible connection, that people were not only freezing, as Nitro said Eco was there, it was getting them killed, or it was literally losing rounds for them. They were doing what was called rubber banding, which is some Zoomer talk. We used to call it warping across the map back in CS. Basically, where you're moving and you just suddenly appear like on a different part of the map. Sometimes you're just stuck on a wall, obviously, because you couldn't see where you're moving. And basically, this rubber banding, there's a clip we have that is ridiculous, where someone is in a 1v2 clutch, and literally, he just has the time run out on him, and the other players are also just stuck on a wall like the fucking Sims trying to get out of an area or something that I've created and trapped them all in, and nobody's winning the fucking... Everyone's just on the walls, and then the casters are just having to go like, whoa, what's going on? And then you might think, right, pause the server, replay the round. Nah, that just counted. That was in the books, boys. What is this?
All right, let's watch the clip so you can actually see it.
Second with the frenzy, no less. A Proto trades that out of 1v2. Proto 72
well, our guys bring it up.
armor to his name and 12 bullets to work with. He doesn't have the spike either, so he's going to have to either lean the frags with 13 seconds left or get to...
10 seconds left.
So I think the most egregious part of this, though, is that you didn't even have, like, there wasn't a way to replay this, because, again, it wasn't on LAN, right? So because it was an online server, you couldn't reset the round that this happened in. So
there's
this
no
is just
front break or anything like that in League. There's nothing like that. So
I know, just to know Andrew Cuomo
sucks
or whatever. Like,
I will say that is about as exciting as watching the current CSGO meta, though, by the way, so fair enough. But yeah, I mean...
He goes, I didn't even see what was wrong with that.
Yeah, no, exactly. He's just saving. They're all just saving.
Exactly. It's fine.
But yeah, so I mean, look, what's brilliant as well is the commentators. Like, oh, it's so good just listening to them, because
Pause from CSGO as well. She knows this isn't legit. You can hear in her voice like she's just thinking, what do I even say that gets me not fired?
Well, they can't sit there and be like, oh no, a Proto's moonwalking to the other side of the site. Like, they can't say that, can they?
Yeah, well, I mean, Monty's obviously ran into this before, you know, that when...
he's looking at, though, that they're just, like, stuck on that wall. That's the part I can't handle. If just he was lagging, it'd be one thing, but they're even just like...
you can tell it's like
Is it Mr. Magoo clutch? What's going on? What is this shit?
You can tell it's like a venue issue, too, because, like, all the webcams, like, glitch out at the same time, so it's something that's happening with the connection.
The webcams were delayed the entire time. They were delayed by like I think half a second to a second. When you were watching the actual event. By the way, prior to that clip, during the 100 Thieves match, there was 4 technical pauses in one match. It's like, when has that ever happened in any, like, I don't remember watching a CS match where there has been more than 1 technical pause. Like, and it's absolutely ridiculous, honestly. And that was just like another... I think there was another example of a player where he'd literally just lagged out entirely, or he's just decided to rubber band, as you said. Like, yeah, it was awful. It was absolutely awful. Yeah, the servers was a huge issue.
Well, it's not only that; it's that these results are, as far as we know, standing right now. That's so.
Yes,
I think at this point, with all the issues that we're going to discuss, I think you kind of just have to play the whole event again. But we'll get to conclusions.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get to that.
By the way, another thing to add in is this is where games like CSGO are so precise compared to games like League of Legends. In League of Legends, right, if the character moves from point A to point B, job done, right? No matter how bad the ping is, no matter how laggy it looks, that is not the case in CSGO. If anyone's ever played CS, sadly, all the the bad players hear this and then say that it's happening to them when they're just bad. What happens basically is, on my screen, I am shooting the guy, but it's not about my ping, it's whether the packets get there. If I have a percentage of packet loss, usually the terrible ones are anything over about 4 or 5%. Obviously, if you just lie as like scumbags like NIP, you say you got 40% all the time, yet you're winning fucking clutches because your device and your whole life is a shambles at that point in time. But anyway, let's bring that back. The point is, any packet loss, again, you won't be able to see it necessarily by the ping. You might have perfectly fine ping, but if the connection to the server is essentially intermittent, it means that like not only it wouldn't be that you just lag into a wall, you might just essentially shoot no bullets into a guy. The bullets just sort of disappear in the matrix somewhere. So that was another thing I heard, was like they were getting times where the packet loss would be ridiculous, and you'd be like, what the and in that scenario, that's the worst thing. You can manage ping. You can manage like, right, I have to lead my shot a little bit. You can't manage packet loss. In that scenario, you just aren't interacting with the server essentially.
Yeah, and specifically for the FaZe Rise game that we were talking about, that is one of the most that you have to call that game off. Like, it's so ridiculous. It's so interesting actually, because we had a situation like this in CS, obviously, with NIP versus Anonymous, and we played out that game in good faith, and then because the bigger org cried about it, they basically got the replay they wanted. They bullied a lot of people behind the scene, and everyone in CSGO seems to maintain that wasn't a horrific injustice. Fair enough.
Want to see more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.